Imagine you're sitting at the airport, the announcement system crackles to life, and your flight is called. You head to the gate, glance out the window, and spot the plane. There are two types you might board, the Airbus A320 or the Boeing 737. These sky giants compete head-to-head on most airlines worldwide. But which one's actually better? More comfortable? Safer? More modern? Is it just about looks? Or is there something deeper behind this rivalry? Today, we're diving in to settle this competition once and for all. And I promise, by the end of this video, your choice won't be random anymore. Let's start with a simple fact. Over 70% of short-haul flights worldwide are flown by either an A320 or a 737. That means if you've ever flown, you've likely been on one of these two planes. But behind this choice lies years of design, decisions, crashes, fixes, and even politics. Did you know the Airbus A320 was the first commercial plane to fully use fly-by-wire technology? Or that the Boeing 737 is the oldest passenger plane still in production? It's a wild clash between European tech and American tradition. And we're just getting started. Oh, and by the way, if you've flown on both, drop a comment below and tell us which you prefer and why. Your experience might help others decide. Plus, stick around until the end, and I'll share a practical tip to figure out which plane you're boarding just by looking at the nose or front landing gear, even if there's no label on the fuselage. All right, let's look at it from a passenger's perspective. You board the plane, hunt for your seat number, stow your carry-on in the overhead bin, and settle in. What's going to shape your experience? Let's start with a technical but noticeable difference. Fuselage width. The Airbus A320 has a body about 7 centimeters wider than the Boeing 737. You might think 7 centimeters isn't a big deal, but on longer flights, it can make a difference in shoulder room or overhead space, especially if you're stuck in the middle seat. Next up, the engines. On the Airbus, the engines are positioned slightly forward and higher, which means less noise in the cabin. I've flown on A320s and genuinely noticed a quieter vibe inside. On the 737, especially in seats near the wings or engines, you'll feel more noise. Now, something flight attendants know, but many passengers don't. The Boeing 737 has a lower nose height, which means more vibrations in the cabin during taxiing or landing. Some crew even joke, in a 737, one sharp turn and your coffee's spilling. But let's be real. Your flight experience also depends heavily on the airline. Seats, service, legroom, all that's up to the carrier, not the plane itself. Overall, if you're after a calm and smooth ride, the A320 usually delivers a gentler experience, especially on longer flights. Oh, and what about you? Got any standout experiences on an A320 or 737? Maybe a seat by the engine, a super smooth landing, or a bumpy one? Drop it in the comments. Some of the stories people share really help others choose better. Ever wondered what a pilot's actually controlling when they grip the controls? This is where one of the biggest differences between the A320 and 737 comes into play: the flight control system. In the Boeing 737, the pilot uses a traditional yoke. Think a big steering wheel. Push or pull it, turn it, and mechanical cables and jacks move the control surfaces on the wings and tail. But in the Airbus A320, it's more digital. The pilot has a side stick, a small joystick by the seat, that sends signals to the flight computer. The computer decides how and when to adjust the flight surfaces. Some pilots love the direct, hands-on feel of the Boeing, like driving a stick-shift car. Others prefer the precision and safety of the Airbus's digital system. Here's a cool tidbit. The Airbus has flight envelope protection systems that prevent the plane from entering dangerous situations. Try to climb too steeply or bank too hard, the computer steps in. On the Boeing, it's more about trusting the pilot's judgment. So choosing between the A320 and 737 is kind of like choosing between trusting a human or a machine. Fun fact, most airlines say pilots switching from one to the other need specific training to adjust. Even the cockpit setup, displays, button layouts is totally different. Which side are you on? Human control or computer? Drop it in the comments. Your opinion matters. When it comes to choosing a plane, there's one question almost everyone asks. Which one's safer? The answer? It's more complicated than you'd think. Let's start with the numbers. The Boeing 737 is older, with over 11,000 units built. That means it's more likely to be involved in an incident, simply because there are more of them. The Airbus A320, on the other hand, has sold around 10,000 units, but hit the market about 20 years later. As of 2025, stats show the fatal accident rate per million flights is slightly lower for the A320 than the 737. But read these stats with caution. They depend on the specific model, production year, and variant. The 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019, which led to a global grounding, really dented Boeing's image. A flawed MCAS system, inadequate training, and withheld information all contributed to those disasters. But Airbus isn't flawless either. Remember Air France Flight 447? That was an A330 that crashed into the ocean in 2009 due to communication issues and human error. Even the A320 has been in tragic incidents, like the 2015 Germanwings crash, where the pilot deliberately flew into a mountain. The takeaway? No plane is perfect. Both models are built to the strictest FAA and EASA safety standards. The real difference lies not in the plane, but in the airline, pilot training, and maintenance. In simple terms, planes don't fail, people might. If you want to feel safer, check both the airline and the plane model. For example, see if the airline you're flying with has a solid maintenance record. Now, a direct question for you. Have you ever been on a flight that felt off? Weird vibrations, a rough landing, or suspicious delays? Share in the comments. Your experience might just save someone else's life. All right, we've reached the big question of this video. If you're at the airport with two equally priced flights, one on an A320, one on a 737, which do you pick? If you're after a quieter cabin, digital design, and a smoother landing, you'll probably vibe with the A320. If you prefer a traditional flight, pilot responsiveness, and that hands-on feel, the 737 might be your thing. Safety-wise, both are among the world's safest birds, with thousands of flight hours and proven track records. In the end, choosing between them is like picking iPhone or Android. Each has its own philosophy. Oh, and remember that quick trick I promised? If you're at the airport, staring at a plane with no name on the fuselage, here's how to tell them apart. Nose shape. The A320 has a rounder, softer nose. The 737's is sharper, a bit more eagle-like. Cockpit window shape. On the 737, the last window on the pilot's left has a unique, angled eyebrow shape. Airbus windows are flat and uniform. Nose gear height. The 737's front landing gear is shorter, so the nose sits closer to the ground. The A320's nose rides a bit higher. Next time you're by the runway, glance over and check these 3 signs. I promise, no flight will feel ordinary again. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want our next comparison to be the Airbus A350 versus Boeing 787, drop it in the comments and we'll tackle those two beasts. Until your next flight, we've got your back.